Initiating moisture.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Moisties. Unfortunately, Jack Black wasn't available to host, so instead it's me, Charlie, and today we're looking at the 5 best games of 2019. Now, I know the Moist meter has become synonymous with real tough grading, like that fucking teacher that'll beat your ass and give you an F because you didn't put up a fight. But there is a lot of games, and a lot of movies as well, that we find to be truly extraordinary. We're tough because we want things to be good and we want them to improve. So let's hit it and shit it. Number 5, Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is like no other game out there. It is truly, by all definitions, a unique game. That's a title that gets tossed around a lot, but Outer Wilds absolutely deserves that nomenclature because Outer Wilds does what pretty much no other game does. It fucking challenges the player to constantly be thinking. It's a game where the core mechanic involves getting yourself totally immersed in a beautiful system, these incredible worlds, and piecing together lore. And using that lore and all the new information that you find about all of these planets, who inhabited them, using all of that to solve puzzles and get your character progressing in the story and solving the dilemma that you find yourself in. It's a very slow game that's obviously not going to be for everyone, but if you can get yourself lost in the universe here, you're going to be rewarded with some incredible decisions, decisions being the wrong word, incredible writing decisions that were made, some fucking fantastic lore, beautiful planets that are a joy to explore and get lost in. It never really gets frustrating to get lost, by the way, because it's constantly just feeling like it's leading to a bigger eureka moment where you solve a puzzle or you use your gamer galaxy brain intelligence to, piece together these things that are happening that you're learning about. And it feels like everything is just so finely crafted with such attention to detail down to the very last rock. Like everything has a deeper meaning. You'll start looking at everything through the eyes of like a pretentious artist, the kind of people that look at a banana taped to a wall and say, yeah, I'll pay 150 grand for that. It means something impressive, I'm sure. Like in this game, if you see 6 rocks stacked in a formation that looks like an alligator, that might mean something potentially. Like there's just so much shit to find, discover, and explore that it leads itself to just being this incredible experience. Outer Wilds absolutely deserves the 5th spot on the list. Number 4, we have a game that's going to surprise a lot of you in its presence on this list, given how much shit I've talked about it. It's Apex Legends. Now, I've talked a lot of shit about Apex Legends, and it's because I love the fucking game so much. It was my favorite FPS game in years, but post-launch, they let it stagnate and die for like the better part of 5 months, where the only changes they'd make were one extra bullet in a magazine somewhere. We removed one tree next to the bunker to help with balancing issues. These trivial fucking garbage changes, and it just made the game get so stale and repetitive and just, for me, just fade out. But it's hard to not look back on Apex Legends positively with the 800 or so hours I put into it in the first 2 or 3 months of its presence in the Battle Royale genre. Apex Legends was a game that came into a genre I was already getting tired of, a genre that was getting oversaturated and stale, and it fucking came in and it breathed some new life into it. And the developers, in their defense, Respawn, has been putting more effort into keeping Apex fresh and updated, so I do respect that. They've been making a lot of recent efforts there. But what I'm saying is, initially it didn't have that. But the first 3 or so months, I was so engrossed in this game. I was playing it constantly. I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to be the best. And god damn it, I was so fucking close. I'm like your dad's friend that comes over and tells you about the time that he almost went to the NFL. That was me with Apex. I almost went pro. I was so fucking good at that game. I loved it. The fast pace, the sliding, the mechanics, the movement system. The movement had its own fucking meta, and the proper ways to get around fast, the proper ways to explore, the proper ways to, peak things, the optimal equipment. Just so many small things that made Apex great, aside from its great crisp gunplay. It was such, and to be fair, it still is a very tight and fluid, fast, fun game. And let me clarify, I don't think every game needs to be updated every 3 days to add something new or some goofy skin or emote or some shit like that. But in Apex Legends' case, there was a lot of game breaking being a little exaggeratory. There were a lot of important bugs that weren't addressed for months and just existed in the game for a long time. The lobbies were really laggy, game would crash. It had a lot of issues that were not addressed, and they let it persist for way too long. That's why it started to stagnate and die. I just wanted to clarify. But Apex Legends absolutely deserves the 4th spot on this list. Moving on to number 3, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake redefines what it means to be a fucking remake. This game reinvented the word. For a while, remake or HD remaster meant fucking nothing. It meant maybe they improved the graphics very minimally, or they improved the look of a single box in level 4. But when Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, this is a fucking true remake. This game is visually stunning. It looks fantastic, so upgraded, so modern, so much fun. The game plays super great. And I'm one of the people that wasn't so personally attached to Resident Evil 2. There was no huge nostalgia for me. I'd played it, but it wasn't the best thing in the world to me. And when I heard they were remaking it, I didn't rip off my shirt and start twirling it over my head like I was at like a goddamn college football game or something. I was cautiously optimistic it'd be fun, but I was blown away. Completely stunned by how much effort went into it and how much I enjoyed it. The game was spectacular, and it makes me super excited for Resident Evil 3 Remake now. And I don't think I ever played Resident Evil 3. But anyway, great game. Can't recommend it enough. One of the most fun games of the year, which is obviously why it's on this list. I think all of the old school mechanics held up really well in the modern day, made it challenging, made it fun, kept you engaged, kept you on your toes, and really brought back that feeling of what it means to play a game that makes you think and a game that actually challenges you. It was a really fun experience. Moving on to number 2, the second best game of 2019, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Also, fun little trivia fact for those of you playing fucking Jeopardy or something at home. This is the second Respawn Entertainment game that makes the top 5 best games of the year list. Really impressive work from Respawn this year. Very talented people there. Jedi Fallen Order bangs. This game is incredible. Not only is the gameplay extremely fun and addicting, its story was extremely surprising. It was really well written, well constructed, paid very much respect to the Star Wars property and established canon. It didn't break any rules, didn't violate shit, didn't fuck any characters in the ass or do anything crazy. It was like what Star Wars Cinematic Universe could have been in terms of its writing. Should have fucking had Respawn Entertainment write the new movie. The story was a real highlight and a real shock. I was expecting the gameplay to be mediocre like Dark Souls Mobile. I thought it was just going to be a Dark Souls inspired clone that was really light on the challenge and light on the mechanics, but it wasn't. It was clearly inspired by Dark Souls and Sekiro, but it made it its own and had its own unique identity that worked really well with the force powers that you could integrate into the combat, and it felt very, very fun, rewarding. Some of the fights were extremely challenging, and I played on the highest difficulty, and that made it significantly more fun. It was always an absolute blast anytime you got in a boss battle with another lightsaber wielder, a Sith. The lightsaber battles and the boss battles were some of the highlights of all boss battles I had this year. This shit was visually beautiful. You had these like crazy choreographed, well not choreographed obviously, but you had these crazy moves going on. You do this combo, they block it, fucking force push you, throw a rock at you, you dodge it off to the right, you fucking, it's had so much going on. That was such an orgasm for your eyes to behold in this arena of force showdown. I loved it. I absolutely loved Jedi Fallen Order. I loved everything about that game. And I was shocked to say that because I didn't think I'd ever like a Star Wars game to this level. But this was quite the surprise. The number one game of the year I think is going to be a no surprise to anyone who knows me. It's Sekiro. I love Sekiro. I love Dark Souls games. I love Souls-like games. Nioh is my favorite. And Sekiro is falling into that category, but with its own very unique personality to it. It has a very different mechanical style. The gameplay is wildly different from the other ones. It's almost, in a certain sense, a rhythm game about the right times to parry, blocking, when to strike, how many hits to get in there before you get the fuck out, before they punish you for it and block your shit and make you feel bad. It was just so nice. I also really loved all of the visuals. The setting I thought was just superb. I'm a sucker for that kind of setting anyway. But they had these really nice boss battles and set pieces, and I just loved it. Every single fight had you going in there on edge because you never knew how hard they were going to fuck you. You'd go into a room, you'd see a pretty tall enemy or something, you're like, yep, I got to clench my cheeks because I don't want to get fucked that hard. I'm down for a little ass pounding, but it needs to feel respectful, and it constantly happened. Every mini-boss would give you a run for your money. There was no pushovers in this game, and I loved it from start to finish. The true ending final boss, the Sword Saint, was probably one of the toughest boss battles I've ever had, and that's quite the compliment because I usually steamroll these boss battles, being the kind of alpha omega gamer that I am. I never really struggle with that kind of shit, but the fucking Sword Saint was eating my lunch. He was ripping my cock off for like 2 hours, I think it took me. I don't remember now, but it was a long one. Rode hard and put away wet by the end of that. It was just such a great game, and definitely one of the most memorable games I've played in years, to be honest. Loved it, top to bottom. Sekiro absolutely deserves the #1 spot. Thanks for tuning into this year's Moisties. I'd recommend all 5 games on here if you haven't tried any of them out. And yeah, fuck yeah. The great game, a great year for gaming overall. I think the games were really great, and it was hard to pick 5. But these 5, I think, definitely shine the brightest. So yeah, that's it, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Moisties Best Games of 2019. See ya.